Guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Florida Treasure Coast Market Update. Today, we're going to talk about boom, the big old $1 million home. Stay tuned.
You better get fired up.
Happy Wednesday. We're here every single Wednesday at 11 o'clock where we talk about the current market here in Port St. Lucie. And today I want to focus on $1 million listings. I'm going to tell you why. I've got someone right now that's looking at putting their home on right in that $1 million range. And I gave them a bubble and I said, hey, looking at all of the comps, you could be here, you could be here. But 1.1 million was kind of the high of that. I don't want to say bubble. Let's say window, right? Of that window of where you could be. And I said, you really need to price it based on motivation. If you're really not that motivated, be at 1.1 million. If you're incredibly motivated, you're going to want to drop it. And in addition to that, I want to share some inventory numbers with you. So I'm going to share with you guys what I shared with this gal so you can kind of see why comps, and when I say comps, I mean sold comparable homes, right? Homes that are like your home that have already sold. You can see what the prices are. A lot of people think, well, I just look at those and then boom, I know what my home is worth. It's an art. It is not a science. And I want to show you a little bit of why here in just a second. So I'm going to share my screen. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. All right. So we're going to bring up the MLS. This is the multiple listing service, or the MLS. This connects. Once I, as a realtor, put a listing in here, this connects with eXp Realty, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin Realtor, all those websites it goes out to. And then you can see those on those websites. They're called IDX websites, right? Or IDX feeds to those websites. So we're going to look this up right now. We're looking at active listings, and I'm going to come down to single family homes. And we're going to go a list price of $1 million or higher. Okay. And you can see right here. Oh, that's not right. Let's get Port St. Lucie in here. I'm like, dang, that's a lot of $1 million homes. All right. Port St. Lucie. We've got 65. Do you see it right up here? That number's actually come down. That's good news. 65 that are currently for sale. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and look 90 days. We're going to go sold or closed. And I'm going to look back 90 days. So I got to do a little bit of math here. Okay, so we got 15 days in October, plus 30 in September, that's 45, plus 31, that's 76. So I need another, what, 14? 31 minus 14 is 17. So there we go. There's 90 days. And we're going to get rid of list price $1 million, and we're going to come down to add a field, sold price. I want to see that it actually sold for $1 million. So how many have we had sell? 10. We're selling 10 a month that are, 10 every 90 days that are $1 million. So if we take, I don't know if you can see this right now, but I've got my calculator up. 65 currently for sale divided by 10 is going to be 6.5 times 90 days. That means we have 585 days of inventory divided by 365. You're looking at 1.6 years times 12. You're looking at 19 months of inventory. You've got 19 months of inventory. So what I shared with this woman was, let's just say that window was $1 million to 1.1. Yes, comps do support 1.1 million. However, you could be at $1 million, the very bottom of your window. And because there's 19 months of inventory out there, you still may not sell in a 6-month contract. You can get the best realtor, the best negotiator, the best marketer, the best prospector. They've got the most experience. They sell the most homes. But because we've got 1.6 years of inventory, you still may not sell in 6 months, right? Which is a typical contract. When you get into 7 figures, sometimes you'll see 12-month contracts, but 6 to 12 is pretty typical. She said, okay, that makes sense. We talked for another 20 minutes. And then she said, I'm really trying to time this sale with my purchase. I'm guessing we'll have this thing sold in about 2 or 3 months. Does that sound right, Joe? And I thought, well, I just shared with you, we got 19 months of inventory, right? So I said, well, where are you thinking about pricing the property? Well, 1.1 million. I said at 1.1 million, again, 19 months of inventory. Meaning if we take on no new listings and we're selling 10 every 90 days, it's going to take us 19 months to get through that. And you're at the higher end of what you could possibly get, that 1.1 million, then the odds of you selling in 6 months are probably less than 50%. I don't know what they are, 30%-ish. I'm guessing there, but it's roughly that, right? And that's assuming we're doing all the right things. You're staging the property well. I'm prospecting my butt off. We're doing great marketing. When we do get offers, we know what to do with them, how to negotiate them, how to make it attractive for that buyer, right? We're doing all the right things. At 1 million, I'm guessing your odds are still less than 50%, not because you haven't appropriately priced your home, not because you're not being aggressive on price, but because you've got 19 months of inventory. You got a ton of competition out there, right? That is incredibly important to understand. So many people will say, hey, we got this comp, this comp, this comp. My home is worth 400 grand. So if I listed 400 grand or so, maybe I can even go up to 420, but they're not taking into consideration the inventory. If you've got loads of inventory, you might not sell at 400. You might need to be at 390. And if you're highly motivated, like I need to get out now, that might be very important for you to understand. Now, if you're not highly motivated and you're like, hey, if I get 420, great. If I get 400, great. I'm not going to go below 400. Okay, well then don't. But at least now you understand and you're educated. You understand the expectations that you're probably not going to get that price when there's 19 months inventory. Now, go back to 2021 where there was a day I remember there was 19 days, not 19 months, 19 days worth of inventory. Then yes, your homes were 400. You could list it at 420. You may not get 420. You're absolutely going to get 400. You might get 410. And there's even a chance you'll get 420. But you're unquestionably going to sell. This is a different market. This is not that market. Okay. And the higher you go, typically, the greater amount of inventory there's going to be. Okay. So, and you're going to see that in any market. I have sold in Minnesota and in Florida. I've also done real estate personally in Washington. And the higher the price point, the longer it takes for a couple different reasons, which I won't get into here. So I really want you to take that into consideration. That does not mean, let's go back to that $1 million, right? Where I said, hey, you're somewhere in the 1 million to 1.1 range, but there's 19 months of inventory. That doesn't mean 1.1 is the best pricing strategy. It doesn't mean 1 is the best pricing strategy. It doesn't mean 950 is the best pricing strategy. When people ask me what the best pricing strategy is, I always respond with, let's first talk about your motivation. Are you going through a painful divorce where the pain of staying in that house with that person is greater than the pain of losing $100,000 or $150,000? Are you, maybe you're only 700 grand into this home and walking with 250 doesn't really feel that much different than walking with 350 when you're splitting it with another person and you've got loads of hate and negativity and all kinds of stuff going on. You might be like, no, let's list it at 950. Let's get this thing sold. Now, if you're in a situation where you're like, hey, I'm 68 years old. If I sell, I sell. If I don't, I don't. I don't have any kids to give the money to. I got plenty of money. I'm happy here. But if I could sell, I go to this place. But it's, it's not like a drastic difference in quality of life. It's just something I'd like to do. All right, well, cool. Then list it at 1.1. But know that your odds of selling are very low because of all the inventory on the market. And know that if and when we do sell it, it could be 6 months. It could be 12 months. It could be 24 months. We're not 100% sure. You need to be okay with that timeline. My point is you need to understand the inventory on the market at your price point or in your HOA or both. Or if you've got something odd, take that into consideration. Maybe you've got a half acre here in Port St. Lucie. That's an oddity. Most people have a quarter acre. Maybe you've got a pool. That's a little bit different market than non-pools, right? That 3 to 375 market, hot right now. That is a light seller's market. Nobody would think that because nobody talks about seller's markets right now, but it is statistically. Last I looked it up, it was 2.7 something months of inventory. Now we're looking at, it wasn't, it was 1 million. We just looked at 1 million. You're looking at 19 months of inventory. It's completely different. So again, my point is really get into the data with your realtor. Really understand what your competition looks like. Really understand how challenging or how easy it's going to be to sell based on what you're going to expect to face. Hopefully that's helpful. I understand I'm extremely analytical. And a lot of people listen to me, and I've heard them say it. Joe, I love what you say. I don't fully understand everything, but man, I feel good. I feel educated when you say it. You don't need to fully understand it. Hopefully, you are gaining a little bit of education. But if you've got questions, ask your realtor. If you don't have a realtor, ask me. I'm happy to go over this stuff. In fact, you could say, hey, I'm not listing for 6 months, or hey, I'm going to use a different realtor. I don't have one yet, but I know I'm going to use my sister, my uncle, whatever. If you want me to run these numbers for you, my intent is to help people make them educated and help them make educated decisions. I'm happy to help you in any way. Right. So absolutely ask me and I'm happy to help you out. But I want to see you guys making good, educated decisions. If you find this content valuable and this is helpful for you, I would love it if you would go to the joerosenshow.com and subscribe to the channel. It helps us get this out to more people and educate more people, making buyers and helping buyers and sellers make better, more educated decisions. So thank you very much. I appreciate the support and I hope you guys have a great Wednesday. Take care.